Hello everyone, good evening and a very warm welcome to the Chinese Grand Prix here at Formula Fun Sim Racing. It's me, Zabi here, and I'll be on the commentary mic once more as we have a look at the championship standings. And of course, it was Zenzoku who took victory and 26 points to themselves, with of course them taking the victory and then one fastest lap point as well. Then was Fly Scott, who finished in P2. Then came Scrubbins, finishing in P3. They started on pole, but ended up finishing in P3. Then came High B, our last year's Chinese Grand Prix winner. So let's see what can they do and how good can they do starting today, with 5 drivers on, with Spliff missing out on the Chinese GP. We had Footy finishing in final driver places. There were some drivers finishing ahead, but those were AIs. Let's not waste any time and let's get ready up to go racing, as we have drivers on the grid ready for the race start. It's going to be 4 and 5 lights out, and we are ready to go racing here at the Chinese Grand Prix round 2 of the Formula Fun Sim Racing Championship. Meanwhile, it's going to be Zen into turn 1, leading up ahead of everyone. Around the outside, it's going to be Scrubbins. There might have been a little bit of contract, not quite sure if there was any or not, but this time it was between Fly Scott and Hype there. Both of them fight it out for 4th place. And what a start by Fitty. That's a great one from him as he heads up from P5 to P2. But they're going to be fighting each other in there. Meanwhile, Zen still leads up ahead of Fitty, ahead of Scrubbins, ahead of Fly Scott, and then comes Hype. Hype goes down the inside line there. They almost made contact once more. These drivers really close racing already at the race start and into lap 1. Zen maintains their lead with Fitty taking up P2, and then comes Scrubbins in P3.
I'm just trying to avoid this lot in front of me.
I know, me too. Well, but you didn't avoid me, you binged me.
I didn't even see it.
Then ahead of everyone, then comes Footy in P2 with Scrubbins in P3. It is then Fly Scott in P4 with High B in P5. And we'll see what are we going to be seeing these guys one more time going towards the back straight, and it is going to be Fly Scott and all the other drivers. They were almost going to be 3 wide with Footy, Scrubbins and Fly Scott at the back. These 3 drivers are going to be there. There's going to be wheel-to-wheel battle between the 2, Scrubbins and Fly Scott. There and there is going to be Fly Scott going through there from inside to the inside line and into there, as they are going to be quite close between those 2 once more, and then again contact with Footy being there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken there, as we're going to see now High B move up to P4 with Footy in P5, Fly Scott and Scrubbins maintaining P2 and 3. And that is then the end of lap 1, as we're going to see these guys move forward in this race. And it's going to be round the outside. Footy might try and go for it there. This is going to be there. Footy's going to be on the gearbox of High B, but not enough this time around. And we'll see if there's going to be any battle or any driver going forward, going for the attack here on lap 2. Is Footy going to be going to the inside or to the outside? This time around, as High B's going to go wide. High B's going to go wide and go on the grass and have a huge spin and fall back to P10. And into 10th place falls High B, but we'll see what can he do on the recovery. Of course, there are 5 drivers, but then some AI drivers in between, as High B then finds themselves at the back.
Alright, let's go get them. Come on, let's work together.
We were fighting about what the hell?
Come on, let's work together right here.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, DRS train yourself.
Yeah, we're going to DRS train.
It's called the slingshot. shake it
I
big.
need to get a little closer to you.
The Shanghai sling.
I don't have enough speed to catch up to you.
You're out of ERS?
I was out of the DRS zone.
Oh, out of the DRS zone, right.
Oh shit, and I just left my battery on.
Well, be losing that time to Scrubbins, but we'll see how good is Scrubbins going to be able to gain that much time on Fly Scott, though, because as it stands, the time of Fly Scott to Zen has dropped down to less than a second, and Scrubbins' time to Fly Scott is 1.5 seconds at this point as it stands, as they head into lap 3 out of 14. Our race leader that was on lap 1 is still there, but the gap now, which was over 1 second, is only going to be about 9/10 now. That is going to be chance for Zen to definitely increase that gap once more on different parts of the track, but definitely not a lot to look for, not a lot to find in pressure for Footy there. Oh, sorry, Fly Scott there to look back. Meanwhile, with the Scrubbins being 1.4 seconds behind. I think that's going to be a little bit of a relief for Fly Scott, but we'll see. I think also a nice little thing. And look at that, as we're going to see, with Fly Scott gaining a lot of time on Zen there. As Zen now, the gap is only 4/10, less than half a second. We'll see this time around with the DRS being enabled on lap 3. We're looking at the onboard of Hybe there at this point, currently running in P10, only 1.1 seconds behind Footy. These guys had a nice battle at the Australian Grand Prix as well, but this time around, is it going to be Hybe taking that place? But once more time, we go to the back straight and the top two there with Fly Scott on the inside.
Oh, what the?
With the help of that DRS, they're going to make contact with Fly Scott going super wide on the inside line, and that is only going to allow for Zen to come back and take that lead.
Smacked right into me.
No, you turned into me. I gave you back anyway.
As that is the corner, the turn 14 here at China. See how many overtakes we're going to see around that part of the track, but that was close. They make contact, and Fly Scott went a little bit wide, and possibly, we'll see, still a long way to go in this race, but that might as well, but could have been the one and only opportunity with knowing how fast Zen has been, and especially how fast he was in Australia. We'll see, still got a lot remaining in this race, and a possibility of some other overtakes or other chances could be on as well. As it stands, lap 4 out of 14. The gap again, 1.2 seconds for Fly Scott and Zen. And look at that, with that mistake by Fly Scott, has made him lose a little bit time to Zen. But again, once more time, if we go to that DRS zone, there is going to be opportunities for Zoku there, Zoku, apologies as I say, and we'll say apologies for those name pronunciations, but I'm sure we'll get on with those as we progress with this season and with these great drivers. And once more, we're at the back, and the gap is less than a second. Look at that, as the gap stands, it is 7/10, but has Fly Scott got DRS though? I don't think he has. Oh, in fact, he does have his rear wing open. Is he going to be able to move this, make that move again this time around? Not quite though, but looking at that, soft tires versus medium tires, it is the red rubber on Fly Scott's car and medium on Zen's car, but we'll see what can Zen do. Can they do enough to defend their P1 position? Can Fly Scott do something to make that overtake? We're going to see as Fly Scott's going to go around the outside in a turn 1, just not enough, as we're going to see Zenzoku have it good enough and do a pretty good job to defend their position. As it stands, Hybe also has overtaken at the back. He has overtaken Footy. The gap to the next car now, it is the AI of Energy, I believe, and that is 7.2 seconds. But the gap behind, they've done a very good job increasing that gap to over 8.1 seconds. Meanwhile, our leader still find themselves with just less than a second ahead of the driver in P2, but an overtake so far hasn't quite been the opportunity or the possibility for Fly Scott to do. There was an opportunity, but Fly Scott just didn't make it stick at that point, which made him go for that again. But that DRS zone coming up, and that opportunity once more. We'll see what can Fly Scott do one more time. That gap is going to be 9/10. Last time around, Fly Scott didn't quite go for it though, as we're just going to get over that DRS zone now, as the DRS is going to be activated. The rear wing's going to be open. More 15 kilometers of more extra speed to Fly Scott's car, but it's still not going to be enough, and it is going to be Zen just having enough speed to keep their car ahead. And in P1, it is lap 5. They're going to head into lap 6. This could be another opportunity. Last time around, Fly Scott try and go for it around the outside into turn 1, but this time around they are actually not close enough. Last time around they were indeed quite close enough to our race leader, but not this time around. Meanwhile, Hy-B only 5.2 seconds now the gap to the cars ahead. There's a good chance for them to keep up. And at this point, as it stands, Scrubbins in P5. Have they pitted though? We don't have the data or their footage at this point, but they have fallen back into P8 from P3, I believe. So possibly they must have pitted, as it's this being a 14-lap race. It is already lap 6 now, so the pit stops should well be coming up now. As the gap has only increased at this point between the top two, over 2 seconds now between FlyScott and Zen. As it stands, it is 2.2 seconds the gap between the two. The closest gap between all of these drivers, it is indeed this single gap, with Scrubbins then making progress actually against the AI drivers, but it won't be too long before they make enough progress and get faster and get close enough to all of these drivers around. Of course, the fight between the AI drivers could be interesting to watch as well. Are we going to see drivers heading into the pits? And yes, it will be. FlyScott, are they going to go wide? They're going to go super wide there. Even on the pit entry, FlyScott at this point couldn't stop their car on those soft tires, maybe veering out of grip. That could have been a hefty incident, but just keeping it out of the walls and out of the barriers to head into the pits. Will FlyScott there, as they're going to head into the pit lane and for a set of medium compound tyre with softs off and mediums on.
I blew it in my pit stop. What a rookie mistake.
Scrubbins now going to go up into P3, leaving others behind. Meanwhile, Hy-B is into the pits as well. They're on the soft compound tyre as well, pitting from P9. Possible opportunity going up to that medium compound tyre as well, but we'll see how good they will be able to do. More and more pit stops come in. Meanwhile, our race leader has not yet pitted. They're over 25 seconds ahead of everybody, but we'll see. Are we about to see any fight from all of these drivers at this point? Look at that. FlyScott now currently running in P. Just trying to find where they're running. That was P5 for them, and that is P4 now as they get ahead of the AI driver there and move themselves up into P4, as they're just now going to try and chase up the drivers ahead, try and chase up Scrubbins, who has pitted. So both of those drivers would be on a pit stop off and would not need to worry about anything at this point in this race. The gap over 26 seconds to the race leader for the driver in P2. Meanwhile, Scrubbins, I believe, is closer to a AI to make that overtake as well, but we'll see as it stands. Hy-B now in P9, closer to those AIs as well, as Scrubbins make their move, and into P2 they go. A possible P2 maybe. They started, remember, Australia on pole as well. Here in China they started in first position as well, but just falling back at some point in this race was the case for them. As moving forward now, looking at Hy-B, I mean, we're talking about how they won last year's Chinese Grand Prix. As it stands, this has been a quite race for them so far, as they go a little bit wide on the entry there as well, but we'll see. I mean, still got about 7 laps to themselves, possibly. I mean, anything could happen. It is Formula 1. They can maybe do something that we don't know about. The gap between drivers, Hy-B at the moment 1.8 seconds behind the AI drivers ahead of them, with the Fitty currently 15.9 seconds behind, currently in P10 as we move on into lap 8, with Scrubbins 27 seconds behind Zen at this point. That means that Zen have not yet pitted. Yes, Zen has not yet pitted, as they were on the medium compound tyre during the race start, and they have quite been on that tyre for 8 whole laps, as they are just now going to head into the pits, make it a nice smooth entry into the pit lane to make it a very nice one. As Scrubbins now 26 seconds. It'll be very close to see who's going to come out though. Is it going to be Scrubbins or is it going to be Zen taking that race lead as Zen comes out, now going up onto that soft compound tire, making the medium to soft strategy work out. The gap 26 seconds, over 27 seconds before this pit stop between the two drivers, but we'll get to know where is Scrubbins currently out on track. They're just on that main straight, and it is not going to be enough for them to be close enough to Zen at this point. And then of course, considering what tire Scrubbins is on, possibly it's not going to be easy for him to overtake, but it might be easy for Hype to overtake at this point. He's got 2 cars out of them as they're going to go down the inside line, but just about backing off in last minute, possibly avoiding a collision, avoiding a contact and with the cars there, the two fighting each other. Hype wanted to go in there, but just had to back out last minute to not make a scene out of it. But we'll see. Are we going to see these guys, though? These AI drivers at the moment at the main straight were fighting each other. But looking at this Fly Scott's car in P3, 3.8 seconds behind Scrubbins at this point. Scrubbins actually gaining on Zen at this point. Of course, Zen not having the warmed up tires, cold tires at the point when they came out of the pit lane. The gap over 4 seconds might just be 2.9 seconds now. Meanwhile, Hype's going to try and do something about his position, having been stuck in P8 for a little bit. They're going to try and move forward to get the car, overtake the car ahead, moving up into P8, but have been running there for quite a while. But we'll see what they can do round the outside. Can Hype go for it? Is he going to make the move stick? Yes, they can, but the other driver might try and come back at him. No, they will not, and they're going to take that P7, and a possible P6 could be on the way as well. I don't think they're going to overtake this time around, possibly on the back straight with the help of that DRS. Of course, otherwise they're not going to get that DRS if they would have overtaken the car early on before the detection point. As we move up to the race leader once more, the gap which was just a little bit less than 3 seconds for a little bit time, it is going to be once again 3.5 seconds between the top two, with Fly Scott 4.1 seconds behind. And look at that this time around, IB already about to make this move. They couldn't make a move down the inside earlier on, but they're going to do it around the outside this time. The drivers at the back might try and come back, but not enough for them on lap 9 out of 14. IB's going to move forward and up into P6 at this point, leaving others behind as Fly Scott still running in P3 in their own race, with the driver ahead is 4.7 seconds ahead of them. The driver behind over 29 seconds behind them out on track. So definitely not a lot they can see out on track at this point, apart from that little slide and a little glimpses of that Scrubbins car, as they are now possibly going to look at that car, have a look, possibly see that there is a car ahead of them out on track. But is it going to be enough? Are 4 laps going to be enough for them to make a move, to make an opportunity, to make something out of nothing at this point? Of course, our race leader has still been strong, and the gap only keeps increasing, with the gap which was over 2.9 seconds. Oh, there's going to be a spin, and that's going to be a spin at the back, as we saw Hype Disc on the exit of that corner, coming out, just losing the rear, and spinning out, and losing out another few positions. Once more, hard work is going to be undone. IB made a few positions up after falling at the back, and that is going to be again a little mistake, losing out the rear on the exit, and that is going to be almost a 180-degree spin, which is going to make them lose up positions and back to P9, and a possibly another loss of position as well, as there is another AI driver right behind, but I don't think that's going to be enough to overtake them. But IB then losing out another position. Somewhat action in this race so far, where not a lot was going on, but definitely not good for their own race at this point. One man is loving this race so far. He's been loving the start of the 2025 season. Is Zen win victory in Australia and looks completely set to win here in China, with 5.3 second lead on lap 11 out of 14 at this point. They just need to do one thing, that is to keep driving how they are driving, and the victory should be theirs. Meanwhile, looking at that gap between Flyscott and Scrubbins is 2.6 seconds. That means Scrubbins is losing out time. Look at that, as we're seeing Flyscott earlier was a far behind than Scrubbins in this race, and kind of being in his own race at this point. But as it looks, the gap a little less than 3 seconds for a bit, but again that's going to move up back into 3.3 seconds the gap, so an overtake at this point possibly, unless somewhat the Flyscott does a super mega collie driving to the end of this race, or if Scrubbins makes some kind of mistake, possibly no chance for him at this point. I mean, you can obviously never rule out anything, never say never, but we'll see what opportunities we can get, what these drivers can get from this race about. Of course, not a lot of overtakes there has been in this race, but those who have, which there have been, of course. That race start was quite interesting, then a little bit fight between Hybe and another driver was interesting as well, but not overall a quiet race in terms of fights and battles out on track. But of course, somewhat good racing by these drivers. You know, they have done a few wheel-to-wheel battles, have been interesting and enough. But we'll see, as we get currently lap 12 out of 14, and now not a lot is remaining to the end of this race. Meanwhile, this little thing, this battle has been going on. We have been looking at the leaders, but this little battle has quite not stopped at all after Hype's spin. He's back again to overtake the two cars that he overtook earlier on, round the outside this time around. Are they going to make the move stick though? This is going to be the inside line. They're going to take a lot of the curb there, which sometimes these curbs can be deadly and make you get a spin, and this was the place that Hype made a head a spin there, but this time around they go very smoothly and very precisely without any problem and move themselves up back into P7. We'll see any opportunity for them once more. The back straight with that rear wing opening, the help of that DRS could be on. They've got a driver behind, but they sure will have their eyes on the cars ahead. They're going to try and somehow make a move, make this position count. They've got a driver behind attacking them as well. They're going to try and defend, but then go for that move as well. It's a driver now, the EI driver is going to go very defensive on the inside line, but around the outside, IB is going to make that move, and the EI is going to come back. The EI drivers, both of them, are going to come back, and round the outside, the orange car is going to be on the way to make that move, almost to be making that overtake. That was close once more. Sure, he's going to keep that position, but the drivers are not going to be quiet as they go into turn one. It is going to be Hype losing out once more, not one, but almost lose out 2 positions, as they're going to try and stay there and round the outside once more. That's going to be a position and an overtake done, as Hype is going to keep that place to themselves. They had to get it not once, but twice, and again, a nice wheel-to-wheel battle, but they are just going to get it back to themselves. And look at this though. On one hand, we're seeing IP fight out with not one but 2 drivers at the back there, and this gap then is now coming down. Meanwhile, into the final lap we go. Our race leader is 7.7 seconds ahead of Scrubbins, as Scrubbins has pretty much lost out a lot of time then around here, pretty much pitting a few laps earlier than Flyscott and Zen. Then of course being a few lap older tires than these two, and Flyscott's time is coming down, as the gap now between these two, which was over 4 seconds at one point, is now only less than a second, and just about 8 to 9 tenths between these two. Is it going to be an opportunity around the final straight on the final lap for these two? We'll see what they can do. We will know what time tells us, and about to witness something out on the final lap of this race though. We'll get to see what can Flyscott do on that final lap, on this final lap of the race, as Hybe is in P6 at this point, and Fitty is in P10. We haven't been able to see much of them around there. Now again, Hybe was try and go for that, and they've done it into P5 once more. A position back for High B, but around the outside they're going to come back. They're not going to have it easy at all. They'll have to defend. Are they going to be able to defend though? At this point it looks like they have been able to defend, but for how long? Not this man to be challenged once more. It is going to be Zenzo Ku
right.
once more, taking victory by over 8 seconds and win number 2
What?
for Zen, and there's going to be a tap. That's going to be a tap as they come around the turn 14. It was going to be tap on that gearbox from Fly Scott to Scrubbins, and this is going to be a fight to the line. It is going to be side-by-side battle, and Fly Scott will have to come to the end, finish up in P3.
Well done! Oh my gosh! Side by side, I couldn't pull away after that corner.
Oh my god.
As Scrubbins is going to take P2. That was very close between the two, but just about falling out on P2 towards the end. But that was quite close and quite nice racing as Fly Scott, Scrubbins and Fly Scott completing the top 3 with High B at the moment in P5. The driver ahead of them, that's the AI, but our driver High B at the moment in P5, and it's going to be finishing up in P5. A nice little finish, and this is then, everybody, is the ending result of this Chinese Grand Prix. Once more, Zen takes victory with that faster slap ahead of everyone. Then Scrubbins in P2, Fly Scott P3, then it was High B in P6 towards the end there, with Footy in P9. See you next time for round 3 in Japan.